I think palpation is important for the same reason that, metaphorically, a foundation is important to a building, or a great stock is essential to make a delicious soup, you know. In the same respect, your hands-on skills, your modality skills are dependent, they rely and are based on solid palpation skills. So in that respect, one leads to the other. Let's say as a practitioner you've got a client with temporal mandibular joint dysfunction, TMJ, and you'd like to work on the masseter to assist that situation and relieve their pain. Well, in order to do that, you need to know where the masseter is. You need to know where it's framed. You need to know the structures that surround it. You need to know that there's a gland that sits on top of it and a vessel here. In order to be effective in your modality work and what you're trying to apply to that tissue, you need to just have a sense of where things are. I mean, it's sort of the same if you went to see a surgeon who sort of knew where the pancreas was. You know, I mean, could you imagine? You wouldn't want to be under that knife. Well, in the same sense, palpatory anatomy skills help in that regard. They bring the specificity to the work. I think my learning experiences as a student from K through 12 were difficult. They were not easy. I struggled a lot as a student, and I think I have, as a writer and educator, tried to always remember what it's like to want to learn, to try and understand something, so that when I create a learning tool or even a sentence or a paragraph of text or an image, I try to keep in mind what it's like to be in the shoes of someone who's really wanting to learn but maybe having difficulty. So I think it helped me a lot. Yes and no. I never expected Trail Guide to the Body to be as successful as it has become. But on the other hand, we've purposely spent 15 years designing it to be exactly what people have asked for. So I think that in that regard, Trail Guide to the Body's success makes sense. Well, a student's experience of learning palpation before Trail Guide was hoping that you had a good instructor. And if you didn't, well, you hope that you had solid classmates who could share with you their knowledge and experiences. It was difficult, but you know, at that time, 20 years ago, palpation was learned more just through people working together at the table side. There were really no resources, so it was challenging. It's the classic story of waking up in the middle of the night with an idea, pulling out a yellow pad of paper and jotting down a roadmap to the human body, a book that connects structures together. And I woke up in the morning and thought, you know, that's not such a bad idea. And the rest is history. Oh, I think the most satisfying part is the fact that people around the world are receiving quality body work from practitioners who have very good skills. And in the end, those clients or patients are having their pain relieved or their functional movement improved or whatnot. And it's just very satisfying to know that Trail Guide had a little part in that process. I think that goes back to my parents. I think my folks were very clear on the fact that if you had time or if you had money or you had skill, whatever you had to give, that you give back. It's not just about business, isn't just about basically taking. And so to me, when I got to a point where I had the opportunity to be philanthropic, it just seemed like a natural next step. What do I miss about teaching? I miss the interaction with students. As cliche as that sounds, it's just the truth. I miss asking students questions and then having them ask me questions and sort of building on each other's curiosity. Back to that same point, I'd say the factor or the element that is necessary for all of those parties, students, practitioners, instructors, is a sense of curiosity about what they're doing. I've never been a fan of an expert. I've never wanted to be looked at as an expert. I've always wanted to just continue to seek and look for more information or more experiences. So to me, whether you're a student or a practitioner or an instructor, to continue to lean forward and ask questions is essential. Oh, in the next year, we'll see a book on human movement. Trail Guide to Movement is what it's called. We'll also see some new apps. I mean, as education has changed so much in the last just 5 years, we're changing as well, much more in an electronic and digital format. So you'll see a lot. I think it's going to be very exciting. What do I find most fascinating about the human body? It's such a stock answer maybe, but I'd have to say that the knee bone is connected to the leg bone and the leg bone is connected to the hip bone. I mean, it sounds silly, but this interconnectedness of the human body as a single organism to produce the movement and function and amazing things that it can do just in everyday life, I find continually fascinating. Favorite anatomical structure? I'd say the tensor fasciae lata muscle. It's cute, it sits there right on the hip. It's connected to the iliotibial tract. It's just a cute little muscle. I guess I like that. I don't know. I'd have to say that. The story behind Trail Guide to Movement was, for many years, we've been asked to write a book on kinesiology, the study of human movement. And Trail Guide to Movement is basically a book about human movement, but not an explanatory textbook. I didn't want to write a book that just said, this is how this happens. So instead I thought, what if myself and the reader go on a journey of building the body as it applies to movement? So the first initial several chapters are that we build the parts and pieces necessary for kinesiology or action or functional movement to occur. So we develop connective tissue, and then we build joints, and then we build muscles, and we build nerves, and then we put all that together with some biomechanical principles. And in the process, you actually see a group of little guys building the body. And so it's much less explanatory and much more sort of a journey and a process by which you learn how you, in everyday life, are capable of human movement.